So this is the Kite 3, and you may well ask, Vinny, why have you got it hanging on strings like this? Well, at the end of the, it's done 2 flights now, and at the end of each transition, just when control's handed back to the normal flight control modes, I can see a bit of an alarming pitch down, and then everything settles down and it's fine. This one was not this one was not doing it, or at least not noticeably, but I can go back through the logs and check on that. So if I look at the pitch during the acceleration phase, it's creeping upwards. It's creeping sort of nose high. And I think then when Basil, then when control is handed when control is handed back, the system tries to correct this with quite a sharp nose down. So I have a theory why we might be getting this nose up tendency during transition. Yes, it is. Let's just sort that out. So I think I've seen this on the Autopilot forum on a few occasions, people saying they're getting a nose up tendency on this configuration on a twin boom inverted tail. So I have a theory that it might be the venturi effect of the propeller, like you're going through this half tunnel. I think there might be low pressure under there, which might be causing that. So I was hoping to at least have a little experiment with this today. So this is hanging on my C of G measuring tool. So the pivot here is basically this pin down here, which is helps to measure where your C of G is. And I know this pivot is above the thrust line. So if I was relying on that alone, I would expect a pitch up anyway due to the sort of moment forces. But obviously there's going to be quite a bit of thrust to resist. So what I've got here, some cord tied to the bench, and if I can get under here, you can see I've underslung the cord on the tail booms, and it passes underneath the fuselage and the same the other side. I think this attachment point is quite close to the thrust line. So I think this paracord will resist the thrust. But I'm quite interested to see if we'll get this pitch up, and if we do get it, is it for the reasons I've said about the venturi, or is it just that I've got these attachment points wrong? Anyway, let's give it a go. I think it's got all the satellites, and I think I should be able to arm, so I'll just pop you back on the tripod. Is that going to be a good enough view? The cat will scarper as soon as I start the motor. Right, so let's see if we can arm it.
Motors armed.
Motors armed. So, are we going to get a pitch up? Okay. Okay. Let's try that again. That was quite close to the ground there, that prop. Well, that surely is quite a strong pitch-up tendency, but is it for the reasons that I'm thinking it is? And what to do about it? I don't know whether to do my transitions with slightly reduced power and take a little longer over them, or if there's any of the parameters that can help to counteract this in any way. Anyway, that was kind of interesting. Let me just disarm. Motors disarmed. So, what else to tell you? So this one has got the aligning motors from the MAD components. Just get this out of the way here. So these are meant to, when they're stopped, they're meant to align, but as you can see, they don't always align properly. And in fact, on the very first flight, they stopped across like this. And so I was on the very first flight. I was running standard AM32 firmware, but those that have been following will remember that this one, we altered the firmware so that it does a sort of a slight reverse routine and uses my pause to stop the motors going in reverse and align them in the right position. So I've put the modified firmware on this one, and it seems to do the trick to align these properly, although I'd much prefer to use standard firmware than the modified one, and I'd be very happy if the AM32 people would give an option of like a jiggle after the motors had come to rest. It doesn't have to be in reverse, I think, but anyway, I'll just show you what the firmware does. Let me just put you down for a moment. Alright, so I've just reset, I've just depowered and back again, and you will see once the ESC's reset, the lift motors will go into the reverse routine. And you'll notice on the thrust motor, it's got standard firmware and it's not reversing. But you'll see using that firmware, they do kind of line up a little bit better. But it's unfortunate it doesn't work without that. So that's about it for today. So I've got to pluck up courage to fly this again, having changed some of the settings. So I'll keep you posted.